Hey guys, welcome back. Previously we had seen uh, some basic functionalities, basic features, data types, variables, support for JavaScript language. And in this video, we'll go ahead and take a deep dive into some of the other advanced features. So let's just start right away. The program that I have right now is going to show the support for functions. And as you know, like pretty much every programming language has support for functions. I don't want to go into like what is a function is and all that stuff. But basically, as you see, we have a function with the name of like my function with the parameters p1 and p2. Inside the function, we are just returning the product of p1 and p2, and that's basically the function declaration. So this is basically the function declaration, and then this function basically is doing nothing from here unless we actually call it. So over here we are just calling that function with parameters 4 and 3, and we are logging the result in the console. Okay, so with that we save this, and then we will go to our command prompt, node command prompt, which is this. Okay, so we have opened our command prompt for running the JavaScript from using the node runtime. Just taking a while to initialize the runtime. Okay, so the runtime is initialized, and now we'll just go ahead to we'll have to just pick up that folder path over here. Okay, and over here we'll give practice 8.js. So as you see, we have given 3 and 4, and we're logging the result of the product, which is in this case 12. Okay, so that's basically how functions work. Well, another way we can do it is that we can use functions as expressions basically. So over here I have evaluated the function and stored the result into this result variable, and then I'm just printing the result. So in this case I should see two 12s, okay, in the console. Let me just run that again. Okay, so I just see two 12s. So basically I can call the function, and I can also like store it in a result. Okay, so next we're looking at a new function from my function 1, wherein I'm just taking again two variables and just adding them. And in this case what I'm trying to show you is that we are actually using this function call, a function invocation, as a variable itself, and then concatenating it with something else. Okay, so in this case I should see like 12 done, or not really 12 but 7 done. Okay, so let me just go ahead. Why does it say 12 done? Okay, I think I have actually called my function. Let me call my function 1 over here, and now I should see 7 done. Okay, so now I see 7 done. Okay, and so one more thing which I would like you to introduce to is local variables. So JavaScript has this notion of local variables, which is basically the variable which is defined in the scope of this function. Okay, so I have defined a new function called my function 2, and over here I have created a new local variable called p3, and I've assigned it a value of 5, which is basically this is a number data type because it's assigned a number. And then like I'm adding p3 to whatever I'm sending p1 and p2. Okay, so if I now go ahead and just call this is my function 2 with 4 and 3, then what I should expect is 4 plus 3 plus 5, so it should be 12. So let me just go ahead and see, I've got 12 in this case. Okay, I can just change this to something else, 6, and then I get 13 in this case. Okay, and to just show or prove the fact that these variables are local, I'm just putting p3 with a value of 1 in this case, and I will define this as well as p1 plus p2 plus p3. Okay, so now let us see. So this 4 and 3, this one would return 7 plus 1, 8, whereas this will return still 13. Okay, so 8 and 13, let's see. So you see 8 and 13. And so now if we print the variable p3 down below over here, let's see what we get. And so we get p3 is not defined. In fact, an error is coming. And this is because of the fact that p3 is a local variable and it doesn't have any existence outside the function. Okay. Okay, so in our next example, what we will do is we will show something called anonymous functions. And before that, let me show you something related to that. Okay, so let me just show you where. Okay, where fn equal to my function to p1 p2. Okay, so let's say this is a new function, and over here what we say is p1 plus p2 divided by, or let's say multiplied by 6. Okay, and we will return this value. Now this is a function expression. This is a function expression, and what that means is fn can now be actually used like any other function. Okay, so we can just say console log fn 4, 3. Okay, and we will expect 4 plus is 7 multiplied by 6 is 42. So let's just see, and for the time being, let's just take away these functions so that we don't complicate things. Okay, practice 9.js. Okay, okay, so there is some issue somewhere. Now it says unexpected token. This is also fine. So I'm just taking out this semicolon once. Okay. Still giving the same issue. Still giving the same issue. Okay, so I just found out the problem. In this case, we need to actually use this function declaration over here. Okay, and let me see if this should work now. Should work. No. Okay, this should be function. Yeah. So finally this worked. 7 multiplied by 6 is 42. Okay. So you need to use this syntax. It should be a small case, and JavaScript, as you know, that it's a case sensitive language. Okay, so this is one way of using functions, and this is a very common usage of function invocations, wherein we store the entire function as an expression and then use that expression from different places. Like it obviously, like it's a bit making the code, less easy to read, I would say, because like you don't have to call the big function name every time. Okay, so this is one way, and of course it's actually the real name of this is an anonymous function, because this function would never have a name. Okay, now something pretty much related would be this. So basically we are doing pretty much the same thing over here, but just here we are using the function constructor. Okay, so it's being treated like an object over here. So we instantiate this my function as an object of the function class, and that's why we use this capital F function. And in this case we can actually give 4 and 3 and this just stays, we can say P1 and P2 just to make it similar to that. P1 multiplied by P2. Okay, and then just say console dot log x. Okay, and over here we can just say that practice 10.js. Okay, now we're getting 12, right? You don't have to use this function constructor, but this is just for theoretical information. Now one small thing I'm going to show over here is that let me just save this as practice 11. So basically what we will do over here is this. So as you see over here, the function is not yet declared, but we are invoking from here. Okay, so we'll save this and then try this out. So my function is not a function. Okay, so instead of doing this way, let me put it over here. Like this. Select my function 1, p1, p2, and then this is just returning p1 multiplied by p2, and let's call instead this. Okay, let's try out this. My function 1 is not defined. Okay, so put this over here like this, save this, try this out. So now we are getting 12. So basically this is called hoisting. Okay, which means that the function is defined below, but we are able to use the function before it is defined in JavaScript. Okay, this is a default behavior of JavaScript. Okay, so now let's move on to something else. Just copying this content, going over and saving this as practice 12. Yes. Okay, now what would I do is, so by the way, you can only do this hoisting for functions which have been declared like this. This function, or if you would have used a similar function declaration, function expression. So this is basically a function expression, right? This is a function expression. Okay. So this is a function expression, and function expressions cannot be hoisted, as we saw. So instead, there is a different way in which you can call function expressions, and that is not available to usual functions, declared functions. So this is called self-invoking expressions. What I mean is, so basically, if I say over here, or let's say like put this. Okay. Now let's see if I put this into a result. Okay, so we'll just execute this JavaScript over here, and for that, of course, we need to log this result, and in this case we should okay, so wait, let me just see this. Yeah, this should be, let's say, 4 and 3. We will do it in a different way. Okay, let's see this. And as you see here, we have 12 and 12. Just to make things clear, what we will do is self-invoking. Okay. And you see self-invoke 12. So basically what happened is that this particular function is being self-invoked. Okay. Now there are different ways in we can actually do this. Like, for example, we can also say console log, or let's say I'm just going to create another function which is going to be function my function 1, and then this is going to be p1 comma p2, and then this is going to be console.log p1 plus p2. Okay, and what we're going to do is that this one is going to be closed like this. In order to make it self-invoking. Okay, so now we should get this p1 plus p2, and let's say this is 4 and 3 again, so this should be 7. And as you see here, we've just got 7. Okay, so that's another way of doing that. So this is also a self-invoking expression. What else can we do with this? Okay, so let's say that we have this function so log. is gonna be invoked like this. Okay, let's try this out. Okay, does that sound and does that seem interesting? Same function, calling itself self-invoking function. It is also called by some people as immediately invoke functions. Okay, so IIF is okay. So immediately invoked functions, and some people say that IIFE, immediately invoked function expressions. Okay, so that's mostly what I wanted to do in this video. Okay, so we learned functions, and we looked at different ways of invoking functions. And by the way, like this is a totally like anonymous function I just showed you, right? So we looked at self-invoking functions, and we will see there is a lot of usage of this self-invoking functions in later videos. Okay, thank you so much. Stay tuned. Bye bye.